"Who is this Huron to come here and preach to us?" the old warrior exclaimed. "Have these teachings been tried among his own people? Let him go back to his own kind. When his people have practiced these sayings, and when peace has come to the tribes north of the inland sea, then let him return to us, and perhaps we will listen. But now these are empty words. Take them with you back to where you have come from, Huron. You are no longer welcome among us. Your words are not words of peace, but slippery words that cause confusion in the minds of my young men." Without reply, I walked from the council fire. I had been among the Mohawks now for some weeks. Even at first they had only reluctantly tolerated my presence, an outspoken stranger from the north. Now, even what reluctant welcome I had was terminated. During the long early spring evenings I had been speaking to them of the needless tragedy of intertribal warfare. Around the central village fire I had been presenting my vision of Mohawks, Oneidas, Onondagas, Yungas, and Senecas, all living together, with an agreement of peace between them. However, in the course of these past weeks, my presence had brought many things to the surface, including a certain growing contention. Opinion regarding the wisdom of what I said was divided. The minority, who believed there to be truth in what I was saying, came into heated conflict with older warriors who greeted my every word with suspicion. I might have still been granted more time to present my vision, had there not been among the Mohawks at that time a bitter young visitor from a neighboring tribe, Ayawintha, an Onondagan, who, for no apparent reason, resented me from the first. Filled with hatred and quick to anger, he violently opposed every argument I ventured in support of a united Confederacy. He pointed out to the Mohawks how my presence among them was itself a source of division and conflict, and that while I spoke of peace, I was in fact bringing disharmony to the tribe, creating disagreement and confusion. Ayawintha, or Hiawatha as he was more often called, maintained that this was both my purpose and my intention, that my words of peace were but a blind. I slept alone that evening, away from the main camp. The weather had warmed, the air hung heavy and expectant. I could smell the gathering rain. Late into the night I gazed into the cloudy blackness above, pondering my next step. Only once did I get a fleeting glimpse of stars. I awoke late, having reached no conclusion. By the time I had hiked several miles to an area where it was known the deer abounded, the sky had filled with a confusion of dark clouds. The storm was near. Mid-afternoon found me hunting along the edge of a deep gorge, lying in the branches of a large, dying oak that reached out over the edge of a seasonal creek bed, some 100 or more feet below. From my position in the overhanging tree, I could see nearly a mile in either direction, and thereby hoped to locate the current position of the whitetail herd whose trail had led me to the vicinity. This evening's discussion around the fire, I reasoned, would go better if I could supply the venison, for I still intended to pursue my mission. I would not let a few hard words deter the purpose of a lifetime. I was surprised to hear others approaching through the forest behind me. This was a remote spot, yet I could tell by the rustling leaves that it was a large company. 2 braves ran forward from the approaching party and gestured at me with quivering arrows to remain where I was. I found afterwards that Hiawatha had, during the morning, taken advantage of my absence to so rouse and enrage the principal warriors of the Mohawk nation, including the chief and his closest counselors, that all of them had set out in a body to kill me, planning to thereby rid themselves of this man whom they now perceived as an enemy. No sooner had the party assembled among the trees at the edge of the gorge when they began to berate me in the most violent fashion, accusing me of being a Huron agent sent to split the unity of their tribe. I listened in patience at first, but then my spirit was roused. Ignoring the order of the two young men whose arrows were trained upon me, I stood in the central fork of the twisted and dying tree. I pointed out to them that though they claimed they wanted peace, they were so defensive and suspicious and unwilling to give those such as myself from neighboring tribes credit for having guileless motivation. They created enemies through their fear. I used myself as an example of one who had come in peace and friendship, but who now felt himself as mistrusted and falsely accused, that were I any other, I would become, in fact, their enemy. I told them how their own fear and suspicion had turned many of their neighboring tribes into enemies, when in reality these neighbors wanted peace as much as any Mohawk. "Look," I said, pointing to the ground at the base of the tree. "I can see your hatred and your fear. Can you see it too, crackling through the air?" At that very moment the storm clouds, which for some time had been soberly massing above us, suddenly exploded. As a deafening roar of thunder shook the tree beneath me, a crackling fork of thunder, jagged lightning, danced ominously upon the very ground at which I pointed. "Look," I repeated in the pause that followed, "I will show you your hatred. It flows from the group of you standing there, up the trunk of this misshapen tree, and fragments, like these dying twisted branches, into 10,000 twigs and brittle forks. The ideal that you live with, that warfare among tribes is necessary, is as false and misshapen, as precariously rooted as this dying tree that hangs suspended over a gorge. Your belief in warfare as a way of life not only divides you from other tribes, as the branches of this twisted tree divide from the trunk, but it also divides you from your families, from your own hearth fires, from all the things you love the most, and every day you go forth to fight, you know this is true. Do you increase your security through your belief in this monstrous lie? No. The ideal itself divides you from each other, for it encourages values and forms of behavior that do not make for friendship among warriors, peace within villages, or happy songs around your sacred fires.